Hello dear students, today we are here with another topic, factors affecting motivation. The objectives set for the topic are to understand the concept of motivation as a hierarchy of needs, to understand motivation in psychological terms, to go through different definitions of motivation and its functions, to identify the factors affecting motivation, to evaluate the real life application of factors associated with motivation. Now let us start with an introduction. One of the psychology most enduring contribution is the hierarchy of needs. The hierarchy of needs was first presented by American psychologist Abraham Maslow in 1943 in his paper A Theory of Human Motivation, which was published in the journal Psychological Reviews. He uses a contemporary organismic theory to explain human motivation. Self-actualization is the only human motive from which all human motives derive. According to Goldstein's organismic view of human motivation, self-actualization is the only basic human motive from which all other motives derive. Special manifestations of the fundamental inclination to realize oneself include hunger, thirst, the need for knowledge, reputation, and other social motivations. Maslow, however, made the assumption that human motivations are grouped according to a hierarchy of power. The need with the strongest power controls behavior and demands that it be met. Maslow maintained that a person cannot fulfill their higher requirements unless their survival needs are met. This theory's classification system first examined society's basic demands before moving on to more complex emotions. The urge for self-actualization drives an individual to take action once all of the aforementioned requirements have been met. The desire to become the best version of oneself is the central concept of self-actualization. A self-actualized individual is one whose potential is reaching its maximum potential. According to Maslow, instead of being confined, repressed, or denied, his inner self freely reveals itself. A person becomes ill if his inner essence is not allowed to manifest itself. Maslow looked at people like Abraham Lincoln, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Albert Einstein to find these characteristics. Number 1, peak experiences. Intensely joyful, imaginative, or transcendental moments. Second one is autonomy. Thinking for oneself and defying social pressure to fit in. Next is authenticity. In contrast, trying to fit in but being true to oneself. Next, purpose-driven, dedicated to a goal that transcends money or ego. Next is ongoing development, constantly learning, investigating, and changing. Next is acceptance, being at ease with one's own and others' people's flaws. Last but not the least is problem-centered, preoccupied with finding solutions rather than winning. Motivation can be used to describe why and how we act in a certain way during a specific moment. One is prompted, coerced, and energized to engage in a specific behavior via motivation. Therefore, motivation is a key component of effective learning, process management, and a super high path or golden road to learning. Numerous psychologists, including MacDonald, Desico, Johnson, Guilford, Bernard, Atkinson and others have proposed various uses for motivation and described it in their own unique ways. The goal of motivation notion is to describe what moves behavior. In a nutshell, motivation can be described as the process that starts, directs and sustains goal-oriented behaviors. Whether it is drinking a glass of water to quench our thirst or reading a book to learn something new, motivation is what drives us to take action. The biological, emotional, social and cognitive factors that influence behavior are all involved. The word motivation is commonly used in everyday speech to explain why someone acts in a certain way. Although many theories explain different features, they all concur that motivation is crucial for development, achievement and survival. Motivation is a key word and essential phenomena in any process of learning at achieving excellence in any line of endeavor related to the aspects and the fields of life. According to Petrie, 1996, motivation is the process by which actions are initiated, guided and sustained in order to satisfy psychological or physical needs or desires. The Latin word mover, which means to move, is where the term itself originates. What moves people to take certain actions is motivation. For instance, when someone is watching TV and starts to feel hungry, their bodily hunger may prompt them to get up, walk to the kitchen and look for food. A situation that energizes and directs behavior is called a motivator. Subjectively, it is perceived as a conscious desire, the need for food, drink or sexual growth. Although the term motivation and motivations are commonly used synonymously, they have different meanings. 1. Actuation, the decision to initiate a behavior. 2. Persistence, the sustained effort towards a goal despite obstacles. Next, intensity, the vigor and energy put into pursuing a goal. Now, dear students, let's have a look over the definitions of motivation. According to W.G. Scott, motivation means a process of stimulating people to action to accomplish the desired goals. According to Skinner, motivation is the superhighway of learning. In the words of Kelly, motivation means vitalized effort. It fires the imagination and releases the floodgates of ambition, determination, purpose, etc. It inspires in the person the will to do, to achieve and to overcome. Guilford defined motivation is a particular internal factor or condition that tends to initiate and to sustain activity. Thus, on the basis of above definitions, we may conclude that the motivation is the force which compels an individual to act or to behave in a particular direction. The direction that such a motivated behavior takes is the goal of the individual. Now let us move towards the functions of motivation. In learning, motivation serves 4 essential purposes. Number 1, the organism, the child, is energized by motivation, which also arouses him or her to action, initiation the activity. Second, motivation guides and controls our actions, the child's activities. Next, motivation regulates conduct and prevents the youngster from acting haphazardly. Motivation is focused on specific objective that the person sets for themselves, not all of their activities. It offers contentment following the accomplishment of objectives. Now, our main topic, that is factors affecting motivation. In psychology, Motivation is a complicated process that is impacted by a number of variables. Motivation is also greatly influenced by psychological elements such as needs, beliefs, emotions. Fundamentally, motivation is a dynamic process that is impacted by a confluence of psychological processes, external incentives, and internal urges that collectively mold a person's behavior and propels them towards their objectives. There are various factors affecting motivation, and these factors can be broadly categorized into broad groups. These factors help us to get acquainted with the fact that what is the basis of motivation and how these factors affect its influence to increase or decrease it. Now let us discuss the various factors that affect motivation positively or negatively. Number 1. Intrinsic or personal factors. These are the inner motivations that propel people to pursue pursuits for their own intrinsic fulfillment and pleasure, as opposed to the pressures or incentives from outside sources. These factors include needs and desires, goals, self-efficacy, personality, interests and values, emotions and moods. Let us discuss them one by one. Number 1, needs and desires. Motivation is driven by the desire to satisfy physical, emotional and psychological needs. For instance, reading a book because you like to read and find the tale or subject interesting, as opposed to reading it because you need to write a report on it for a class. Number 2, goals. Clear and meaningful goals increase motivation. Goals help individuals to focus on relevant tasks while ignoring distractions. Goals increase intrinsic motivation as self-determination. Theory suggests that goals aligned with personal values and interests boosts intrinsic motivation. For example, a programmer learning a new language for passion, it is intrinsic, versus just for a promotion, that is extrinsic. Next is self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is the conviction that one can succeed in particular actions or circumstances. It plays an important role in motivation by increasing efforts and persistency, shapes goal settings, stress and resilience, etc. People with high self-efficacy view challenges as opportunities, leading to higher motivation, and low self-efficacy depends on extrinsic rewards, needing praise, money or pressure to act. Next is personality. Personality plays a significant role in shaping how individuals are motivated, influencing their goals, persistence and response to rewards. The personality factors affecting motivation are conscientiousness, discipline, responsibility, extraversion, sociability, energy, neuroticism, emotional instability, stability, and openness to experience, like creativity, curiosity, agreeableness, cooperation, compassion, locus of control, achievement, motivation, and procrastination tendencies. Thus, conscientious students excel with deadline and open students need creative projects. Next is interests and values. Interests increase intrinsic motivation and make work enjoyable rather than burdensome. Likewise, values determine whether a goal feels meaningful or not. For example, an artist values self-expression over money. So, values affect motivation by giving it direction, resilience, and satisfaction. Next is emotions and moods. Emotions are short-term reactions, where moods are long-lasting, less intense states. They significantly affect motivation by shaping energy levels, focus and persistence. Positive emotions and moods enhance creativity and problem solving capacity, increases efforts and persistence, and strengthen intrinsic motivation. Negative emotions and efforts lead to mild stress, guilt, and frustration. Now let's move to the another factor, that is extrinsic factors. Extrinsic motivation comes from rewards, pressures, or consequences rather than internal satisfaction. Extrinsic motivation can effectively drive behavior, but they work best when balanced with intrinsic motivation, used thoughtfully and tailored to individual preferences. Some of the key factors are rewards and incentives. These include money, bonuses, prizes, and increased short-term effort. Overuse of them lower intrinsic motivation. Next is punishments and threats. Motivation through fear of consequences like fines, penalties, and criticism. It can also lead to stress, resentment, or avoidance. Next is deadline or external pressure. It includes time constraints. For example, a writer finishes a book before the publisher's deadlines. Next is social recognition and praise. It fulfills the need for approval like verbal praise, public acknowledgement, peer influence, and group expectations. It includes peer pressures, team goals, and social norms. It is motivation to fit in the collaborate. Next are environmental factors. The physical, social, and cultural environment plays a critical role in shaping motivation. Even highly driven individuals can struggle in poor environments, while supportive settings can boost efforts and persistence. Physical environment include workspace, noise levels and temperature, and air quality. Social and cultural environment like workplace, school culture, role models and mentors, social norms and expectations. Psychological factors. Motivation is deeply rooted in cognitive and emotional processes. These factors explain why people pursue goals, persist through challenges or give up. The main psychological factors affecting motivation are: number 1, cognitive factors. It includes self-efficacy, expectancy, goal settings, and mental framing. Emotional and affective factors. It includes intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, fear of failure versus hope of success, mood or emotional state. Next is personality and individual differences. It includes discipline, goal settings, curiosity, driven learning, value feedback, higher efforts. Next is cultural and societal factors. Culture and society shapes what people are motivated by and how they pursue goals. These influences operate through values, norms, economic systems, and historical contexts. Culture and society shapes our motivation. Culture scripts our motivation as no one is self-motivated. Awareness helps us to cultivate or resist societal pressures. The key cultural and societal drivers of motivation are: first, cultural values and goal orientation. Here people are motivated by personal achievements, autonomy, and self-expression. At the individual level, people get motivated by group harmony, family duty, and social approval. Next is socio-economic and cultural influences. It includes economic opportunity and mobility, education system like merit-based systems or rote memorization, and gender roles and expectations. Next is media and technology. Social media comparisons and globalization and westernization are the key factors in motivating individuals. Next, biological factors. Motivation isn't just psychological, it is deeply rooted in brain chemistry, genetics and physiology. Brain is considered as a motivating machine. It includes 1. Neurochemical influences. It encompasses various chemicals like dopamine, reward molecule, serotonin, mood and satisfaction, and endorphins, pain and pleasure response. Next is genetic and hormonal factors. It includes testosterone, which increases competitiveness and persistence. Estrogen and oxytocin are considered as factors of social motivation. Next is physiological states. Sleep deprivation, nutrition and blood sugar, inflammation and sickness are some of the physiological states which increases or decreases the level of motivation. Last but not the least is organizational and institutional factors responsible for motivation. Workplace structures, policies and leadership styles significantly influence motivation. The key organizational and institutional factors that drive or undermine engagement and productivity are leadership and management styles. It encompasses transformation, leadership, transactional leadership, and micromanagement. It inspires through vision, charisma, and intellectual stimulation. Workplace policies and culture. It includes recognition and rewards, work-life balance, diversity and inclusion. Next is organization structure. Communication flow like open door policies, transparency and change management are the key factors. Institutional support and resources. It motivates career growth like training and development, tools and technology used for professional growth. Compensation and benefits to support learners. Team dynamic and peer influence. It increases belongingness and encourages effort. It includes collaborative culture and societal accountability. Now, dear students, let us conclude. Motivation is a multidimensional phenomena influenced by a complex interplay of biological, psychological, social, cultural and organizational factors. Motivation is a dynamic and multifaceted psychological process shaped by an intricate web of internal and external influences. From biological drives to cultural expectations, each factor interacts to determine why we act, how persistently we strive, and when we disengage. Because motivation is so important to student learning, educational psychologists are particularly interested in it. The more general types of motivation that psychologists in other domains study, however, are fundamentally different from the particular type of motivation that is investigated in a specialized context of education. Students' learning and attitudes towards the material can be impacted by motivation in a number of ways. Students occasionally require contextual motivation, which can be found in the surroundings that the teacher creates, because they are not always internally motivated. The majority of new student orientation leaders at college and universities recognize that distinctive needs of students should be considered in regard to orientation, information provided at the beginning of the higher education experience. By studying its factors, psychologists can help individuals harness their drive, overcome obstacles, and achieve meaningful goals, whether in daily life, career, or personal development. To sum up, motivation is a complicated interaction between a number of variables, including extrinsic and intrinsic ones. A person's motivation to accomplish goals is influenced by their own personality, the task at hand, and their surroundings. Gaining an understanding of these elements is essential for motivating people and maximizing performance in any situation. That was all for today. Thank you for your attention.